A family secret. The rain had been falling since dawn, wrapping the old house in a misty silence. Maya stood by the window, tracing shapes on the fogged glass as drops slid down like slow-moving tears. Her grandmother, Amina, was asleep in her room downstairs, her fragile breathing barely audible over the steady patter of rain. The house smelled of rain, old books, and memories, the kind that never left, even when everyone else did. Maya was 17 and full of questions. She'd always felt her family carried a silence thicker than words, especially around her grandmother. Whenever Maya asked about her grandfather, Amina would simply say, "He was a good man." That's all you need to know. But Maya never met him. There were no photos of him in the house, not even on her mother's wedding day. It was as if he'd been erased. That afternoon, when the thunder rolled and the lights flickered, Maya decided to help her grandmother by cleaning the attic. It was something she'd avoided. The air up there was heavy with dust and ghosts. She climbed the creaky ladder and pulled herself up. The attic smelled of old paper and dried flowers. Piles of boxes stood like forgotten sentinels of the past. She brushed her hands against one, labeled in faded ink, Winter, 1969. As she explored, she noticed a loose floorboard near the window. Her curiosity sparked. She pulled at it carefully, and beneath it, she found a small wooden box, wrapped in a red cloth now faded to rust. It was locked. Maya turned it in her hands, heart racing. The box looked fragile yet deliberate, the kind of box meant to guard something precious. She searched around and, after some time, found an old key tied to a string inside an empty picture frame. The frame held no photo, just the ghost of one that had once been. When she inserted the key, the lock clicked softly, like it had been waiting. Inside were several folded letters, yellowed with time, and one black and white photograph. The photograph made Maya's breath catch. Her grandmother, young, radiant, smiling, stood beside a man in a soldier's uniform. His hand rested gently on her shoulder, and in her arms, a baby. Maya turned the photo over. Written on the back, in neat handwriting, were the words, "Greater than Amina, my heart belongs to you. Rahim, 1969. Maya frowned. Rahim? That wasn't her grandfather's name. Her mother had always said her father's name was Kareem, a businessman who had died before Maya's mother was even born. She unfolded one of the letters and began to read. "My dearest Amina, the nights are long here at the border. I dream of your smile more than I see the moon. The sound of gunfire reminds me of how fragile peace is, and how precious you are to me. Promise me you'll wait. When this war is over, I will come home. And we'll plant roses outside your window, the red ones you love. Rahim." Maya's heart ached as she read through each letter. They told the story of two lovers torn apart by war. Letters full of longing, fear, and hope. A man's words to the woman he adored. But the final letter was different. It was short, written in shaky handwriting, and unsigned. "Greater than. Forgive me. I had to protect her. She must never know the truth." Maya's hands trembled. Who was her? Her mother? Did her grandmother hide something this big all her life? That night, unable to sleep, Maya went to her grandmother's room. Amina was awake, her eyes open, staring at the ceiling as if she'd been expecting this moment. "Grandma," Maya whispered, holding up the box. "I found this." Who was Rahim? Amina's eyes filled with tears, glistening in the lamplight. For a long moment, she said nothing. The clock ticked. The rain whispered against the window. Finally, she spoke. "Sit down, Maya." Maya obeyed, her heart pounding. Amina reached out and touched the box. Her hands trembled. I buried that part of my life many years ago, she said softly. But maybe it's time you knew. She took a deep breath. Rahim was my first love. Your real grandfather. Maya's breath caught. Then who was Kareem? A sad smile flickered on Amina's lips. A kind man who helped me hide the truth. Amina's story began in 1968. She was 18, a village girl who dreamed of becoming a teacher. Rahim was a young soldier stationed nearby. He was charming, brave, and full of laughter. They met at a local market when Amina dropped a basket of apples and Rahim helped her gather them. Their eyes met, and in that instant, something unspoken began. They met often, under mango trees, by the river, sometimes exchanging letters secretly. The country was torn by war, but their love blossomed in the shadows of chaos. When Amina's family discovered their love, they disapproved. A soldier's life is uncertain, her father had said. You need stability, not sorrow. But Amina's heart belonged to Rahim. Then, one day, Rahim came to her doorstep in his uniform, eyes filled with fear. There, sending us to the border tomorrow, he said. If I don't return. Don't say that, she cried. He held her close. Promise me you'll keep our love safe. Whatever happens. Remember, I will always come back to you. He kissed her forehead and left. That was the last time she saw him. Weeks later, news came that Rahim had gone missing in battle. His body was never found. Amina was shattered. She was also 2 months pregnant. Her family, terrified of scandal, sent her away to live with a distant relative in another town. She gave birth to a baby girl, Maya's mother, in silence. No one ever spoke Rahim's name again. A year later, Amina met Kareem, a widower who offered her marriage and protection. You don't owe me love, he told her. Just let me give your daughter a name. Kareem raised the child as his own. But Amina's heart never healed. She kept Rahim's letters, hidden like a sacred wound. Locked away where no one could find them. Tears streamed down Maya's cheeks. You kept it all secret. For so long? Amina nodded. It wasn't shame, child. It was love. And protection. Your mother grew up believing Kareem was her father. It was better that way. I wanted peace for her, not pain. Did you ever find out what happened to Rahim? Maya asked. Amina looked out the window. Years later, I learned he'd survived, but he'd lost his memory after the war. He was taken in by another family far away. By the time I found out, it was too late. He had died a second time, this time in peace, never knowing I'd waited for him. Maya sat in silence, her heart heavy yet filled with awe for the depth of her grandmother's love. Amina smiled faintly. Rahim once promised to plant roses for me. After he left, I planted them myself. They bloom every spring. Red as his heart. Maya thought of the roses outside the window, the ones that always bloomed, no matter the weather. She finally understood. Days passed. And the secret became something shared between them, no longer a burden, but a bridge between generations. Maya began to visit her grandmother's room more often, reading Rahim's letters aloud. Imagining the young lovers reunited in every word. One morning, Amina didn't wake up. She lay peaceful, the faintest smile on her lips. In her hands was one of Rahim's letters. And beside her pillow, the faded red cloth that once wrapped the wooden box. Maya buried her grandmother beside the rose garden. That evening, as the sun set in gold and crimson, she opened the box one last time. She took out the photograph and placed it beside the roses. I'll keep your love alive, she whispered. The wind rustled the leaves as if whispering back. Years later, Maya became a writer. Her first book was titled A Family Secret. In its pages, she told the story of forbidden love, war, and sacrifice, inspired by the two souls who had loved beyond time and truth. Readers all over the world wept for Amina and Rahim, not knowing they were real. Every spring, Maya visited the old house, now hers. She'd sit beside the roses, notebook in hand, and whisper, "I told your story, Grandma. The world finally knows." The wind would rise gently, carrying the scent of roses, as though love itself had never left.